Hey, it's Dan, and welcome to Unified Gaming. So today guys, we're going to play Trash or Grab, the game where we check the weekly vendors to see are the items worth grabbing, or are they absolute trash. As always, I combine all of the vendors into one video, checking out the Golden, the Infinite Archive, Scalarium, and so much more. If you are watching this in the future, it's worth noting this is recorded on the 10th of May, so things will be different. As for the Golden Vendor, you can find her in Cyrodiil. She's located in Northern High Rock Gate. Alternatively, she's down over on the Yellows, down at the Western Elsewhere Gate, and if you're on Ebonheart Pact, she's also over at the Southern Morrowind Gate. As always, if you want to stay up to date with the series so you don't miss out, then do subscribe, and likes and comments are greatly appreciated. I just want to say a massive thanks as well to the members who do support the channel for exclusive content, early access and much more. This details down below. So this week the Golden Vendor is selling the following. She's selling the Ember Shield set. When you complete a fully charged heavy attack, you increase your physical and spell resist by 3,300 and deal a bit of damage. The damage scales off your higher resistances, and it's a bit hit and miss in all honesty. My recommendation would be to probably skip that one, it's not really worth it, so I would say avoid this. We then have Martial Knowledge. While your stamina is below 50%, your light attacks cause the enemy to take 8% more damage. It's a debuff, it's kind of again hit and miss. This can also be bought from other players, so I wouldn't rush to buy this. I think there are better sets in my opinion. It's a fun group set. If you're going to Zerg and stuff, great, but beyond that I wouldn't use this. PvE wise, it probably has some use on some support builds, but again there's better sets in my opinion, so I wouldn't rush to get this. We now have Undaunted Infiltrator. This is a fantastic set for PvE. When you use an ability that costs magicka, you increase your light and heavy attacks by 1,645 against monsters. What this means is that as you're basically using skills, you just get free damage. If you're on a heavy attack build, this is one of the best sets for that, in all honesty. So it's really, really good, and it's a dungeon set, which means trying to get gold jewelry in a dungeon is quite hard. You have to get the jewelry, you have to upgrade it. This skips all of those steps, so I would recommend if you're new to the game or you're after a heavy attack build with a pretty good set, this is worth considering. Is it the best heavy attack set? No, but is it up there? Definitely. We then have Vampire's Lord. This increases your bonuses and penalties for your vampire stage. So if you're unaware, when you have your vampire stage, you take more damage from fire, you take more skills cost more, but your vampires cost less. This isn't worth it basically. Just the long and short of it is this is complex, the vampire skills themselves aren't good enough damage wise, and it's just not really worth it. Getting a 6% increase on all your skills, plus the normal bonus as well of 10% is loads. To get a 20% cost reduction on one, maybe two good skills you're going to use, it's not worth it. So skip this. We then have the Scourge Harvester set. When you take damage, you have a 10% chance to tether to the enemy. As you tether to them, you do some damage and you get healing. It gives you Major Vitality. This is fantastic. Major Vitality does give you increased healing received, so it makes your shields bigger, makes the heals you receive from others or yourself bigger, which is great. And it scales off max health. So this is normally around, about an 800 tooltip. What you use this mainly for is the Major Vitality. The Major Vitality in PvP is fantastic. This makes it really, really easy to stay alive. It's also worth, and this is shoulders. So any shoulder set I always kind of recommend anyway, just to save you having to do keys and farming and dungeons. So this is definitely worth getting for PvP. It's a great PvP set. PvE wise, it's not terrible. In all honesty, it's good, but there are better sets for damage dealers, better sets for tanks, better sets for healers. So for that reason alone, I wouldn't rush to buy this. The only time I would is if I'm making a solo build where I'm playing by myself in overland content or playing in solo dungeons, then I would consider this, but you have a companion which can kind of help anyway, so I'll probably just skip it for PvE. We then also have a Spawn of Mephala. When you deal damage with a fully charged heavy attack, you create a web on the target that deals some damage to the enemy every second and it's got a 4-meter radius. It does scale off your weapon and spell damage, and it's got a 10-second cooldown. This is it's bad, basically, it's bad, but that's the only way to say in this. The damage, like it does, is very little. There are better sets for damage, in all honesty. PvP, people just step out of it, so again, it's not needed. PvE is only good against static boss fights, which again, not needed. Better sets, so I would skip this unless you are someone who's trying to fill up the sticker book, which, you know, then it's worth considering. So for me personally, I'm missing one piece of this set. I'm probably going to buy it, but I wouldn't buy this for any other reason other than your sticker book. That is literally it. But that is the golden this week, guys. There's like one okay item in all honesty, the Undaunted set. That's pretty good for heavy attack builds, but that's about it. Now what we do as the rest of this video is we go through and we check the other vendors to give you like a full breakdown of all the vendors in one easy to access video rather than 3 or 4. So we're going to hop over to the Scalarium and the Infinite Archive to see what they have for sale over there. So hop into the Scalarium. This is something that comes with the Gold Road DLC. Gold Road gives you access to scribing, which lets you customize skills. The system itself is currently a paid feature, but ZeniMax have said this is going to be public in around about a month's time, so you're looking sort of early July. As always, if you want to stay up to date with the series, then do consider subscribing, and as I said before, likes and comments are greatly appreciated. Over the Scalarium, you need to access this vendor called Fernando. He will only appear if you've done some of the quests for this, so just if you don't see him, do the quest. And here he sells all the Grimoires always, but some scripts that change week to week. So he has Empower, Trauma, and Thief Swiftness. These are all interesting in their own right. So the Empower is quite good for PvE, because what it allows you to do is you can put it on something like Willed Soul, and then you can go and get the bonus heavy attack damage, and you can put on anything you like. So you can put on Fire, Lingering Torment, and then as you're weaving this, you've got your heavy attacks. You can do heavy attack, fiery soul, heavy attack, fiery soul, heavy attack, fiery soul, and then this gives you basically access to Empower, which is a huge damage boost against monsters if you're heavy attacking. So really, really nice buff. It means you don't have to run Oaken Soul. So this will allow you to essentially play it a bit easier. You can use Empower on other skills, so it is worth like considering that. One of the skills I wish it was on, but it's not, is the banner. So you do need to actually actively cast it. There's no way to not get that buff without actively casting it. This is the only one that avoids it, so just factor that in, that anything you do, you need to cast it. We then have Thief Swiftness, which is on the banner skill itself. This is really cool. It reduces the cost of sprint. So if you are in a dungeon and you're trying to get through it quickly, having something like that is very helpful. It makes it quicker to get around. Quite good for PvP. You can put something like Prophecy of Sadri or your damage buff, so that way anybody nearby just gets the damage buff, they get some movement speed, put on some mitigation. You now have a skill that will allow people to run around through the dungeon quickly. It makes it cheaper to run, they keep the damage buff up. You could change it for Berserk for more damage still. PvP wise, Thief Swiftness isn't the best. You're better with Crusader's Defiance, which is quite nice, reduces snares, that's more like potent. Cavalier's Charge is better for damage. So I wouldn't run this PvP, but PvE, it definitely has uses. And then you then have Trauma, which is the last one. And Trauma it's not great, in all honesty, not great. Like, there's no real good use for it. On the skills you actually use, you'll see it's not there. So that's one of the problems with some of these scripts, is that they're great, but the scripts you'd want to use them on, or the skills themselves, they're not available on. So you then end up having to use skills you wouldn't normally use, and then you end up getting this really awkward part where you can't use it how you want. So I would skip that one personally. We're going to hop over to the Infinite Archive now, which is over in Apocrypha. It is worth stressing with the Infinite Archive that it does use its own currency. So if you don't play the system itself, you do need a bit of farming, but it's definitely worth doing it because you get some really good class sets. You also get access to some leads, which can save you a lot of headache with farming. So for that reason alone, I'd always keep about 10 to 15,000 of the currency just sitting in your bank, just for cases where there are good weeks, because it does happen. Once inside, we go to the far east, and we're looking for Filer All. So he's over here. And he sells a range of scripts, as you can see down here. He also sells access to some leads, which are really good. So that's always worth considering. And It's just worth noting that his stock again does rotate week on week, so for that reason you do need to check this weekly, and if you like the system and the series, and subscribe if you haven't already. As for the two this time, he's got the lead for one of the mounts, so it's one of 17 pieces for the wolf. These aren't too hard to get in all honesty, and I would, if you want a mount, fine, but I wouldn't pay for it. It's not worth the effort to get these fortunes for this one lead, so I would skip that. We then have the Golden Saint Camiro. This comes from the Saint and Seducer mythic, which is a very, very good mythic. It is located in the world bosses in Alkira Desert, so the Lesser Circle world boss. It's an easy lead to get, so I wouldn't buy this personally. It's not worth the money for how easy this lead is to farm. For the scripts, we have Evasion, Magic of Steel, Alt Gen, and Anchorette's Cruelty. These are all they're all like mid, in all honesty. Evasion is like the only decent one, and again you can get access to major evasion or minor evasion quite easily, so that's like the only one I would consider. The Cruelty, I have been asked a few times, that goes on to Soul Burst or Soul Magic. It is a signature script, and when you use a Soul Gem with this skill, it does a bit of Oblivion damage as a damage over time, which means it bypasses shields. It works against people with really high HP pools, but the actual damage per second ends up being similar to just Lingering Torment. The only advantage is that this goes through a shield, whereas Lingering Torment doesn't. The downside with Cruelty is that it's got a 10-second cooldown on Soul Burst, which is huge, so you can't put this on loads of people. And then if you go for Willed Soul, which is the other one, you have the same problem. It's got a 5-second cooldown, so you put this on target 1, you go to attack target 2, and it's on cooldown still. If this was like once every 5 seconds per target, it would be really good, but for that reason alone, it's not really worth it. It's only good on like dual builds and on the very niche specs, so don't rush to buy it, basically, is kind of my advice. The Evasion can be used on Contingency, which is very, very useful, and with that in mind, it will allow you to just reduce your damage taken, so just factor that in. It is pretty decent. I quite like it down here, so you can play around with it. I personally would recommend though, just go down to medium armor, get this skill here. This is easier, it's cheaper, it lasts a lot longer, it's actually usable, but I'm not going to waste a skill slot for that buff. You can get it from sets and stuff, and it doesn't reduce damage that much, in all honesty. The final place is the Telvar Vendor in the Imperial City, so we're going to hop on over there, and this vendor here sells stuff for Telvar. It's very expensive, but it's still worth checking. Once inside, you are looking for the little sign. This has got like a anvil with a fire. That's where you're going in the right direction. And you're looking for the vendor called the Telvar Merchant, who sells just a range of stuff. Again, it's expensive, as I said. I need to stress that it is very, very expensive. We are looking for this Orc lady here, so Kazugla, and here she will sell a range of items from here. Mainly the leads are what we're interested in. So the Akatosh set is tradable. When you deal damage on Blink, Charge or Pull, after 3 seconds the enemy bursts with temporal energy, reducing their move speed by 70%, and it stuns them. It's not worth it, they're better sets. If you're trying to get a stun, just use a skill. If you're trying to get a snare, use a skill. Why would you waste a 5-piece on this? It's not worth it. Meritorious Service. This is quite a cool set. While you use this in combat, increases the armor of you and allies, which is basically really good. So when you use any support skill like Banner, so you might use Banner, for example, you might go and use Siege Shield, you might use Purge. Any of these will give you and your allies loads of armor. It's actually quite good for PvE as well, for that reason alone, because you're going to be using Purge. You might use the Banner skill, particularly in PvE. So with that in mind, this is not a terrible set. It's more of a support set. We have two leads. We have the Saint and Seducer lead, so the Golden Saint Camiro. Again, with these leads, they're very, very expensive. But with that in mind, you can save yourself a bit of time. So this one, again, is the same one that's in the Infinite Archive. For me personally, you can just farm this. It's from a boss. It's in Alkira Desert, so skip this. We then have Cerebon's Ward. This is it's not a good mythic in all honesty, so I would skip this anyway, but yeah, you know, I wouldn't rush to get this is kind of what I'm advising. Just note that like with some of these leads, they can be a bit annoying to get, so you know, it's always worth just doing a quick Google search if you're ever unsure. But like with that in mind, it's just, it doesn't do enough. It's just a bit of a weird one. We then have some scripts this week. So we've got Potency, which basically is like the ult gem version. Flame damage, easy to get. Savagery, easy. Force, easy. So the scripts this week are pretty like mid in all honesty. I wouldn't rush to buy those. And that's it really. That is the golden and the weekly vendors. There's a range of stuff there. In my opinion, very few of it is actually good. So I'm probably going to say this week is a bit of a bust. Like it's not really worth it. But if you want to stay up to date with the series, then you know what to do. Subscribe, likes and comments are appreciated. And as always, a huge thanks to the members who support to get early access, exclusive content and more. There's details below. Take care. Bye.